What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation, and I am out here chilling right now. Was going through some videos, and there were some excellent comments that I felt that I would address in a video. So I just wanted to kind of get to those. Hopefully you don't hear a lot of this wind coming through. The microphone is facing the opposite direction, so I apologize if it's a little bit of background noise. But the first comment I wanted to kind of touch on is a comment that was sent by Jan, the driver of my newest truck. And I just wanted to address the first portion of his comment. And he said, now there's an airplane going over now. Hopefully you can hear me over this plane. But he said, Prime should be paying trainees, period. I was happy getting $900 a week. I felt strange knowing my trainer was paying me. Now I agree with this and kind of disagree with this. To me, I never had a problem paying the trainees that were on my truck. Where I think the problem is now with the 50,000 miles is I just watched a video by another driver, and excuse me if I don't know that driver's name off the top of my head, but he just posted a video with his frustrations of going through Prime, and a lot of that frustration is based on that 50,000 miles. And what he's having an issue with right now is his trainer took time off. He didn't want to take time off. He's not getting paid, and he feels like he should be getting paid because he's available for dispatch. Now I agree with that, and there's where that murky water comes in. If it's 30,000 miles, then you can knock that out in one run. When you start getting into 50,000 miles, that's when it becomes a problem, because you have some trainers that aren't going to want to pay their trainee while they're taking home time, even if they scheduled it. And you're going to have some that will. Personally, I probably would, especially if I was the one that initiated that home time, which seems like that was the case in his scenario. They say that you could always leave yourself available for dispatch, but I'm not exactly sure how that really works. So in those cases, I do think that if the trainer's not paying, that Prime should pay, because this particular driver is now in a situation where he's not going to be able to pay his light bill, possibly his rent, things like that. And Prime could end up potentially losing a good driver because of this. So in those cases, I think that Prime should pick up the slack. So that is my answer to that one. And then another one, a good trainer should make more because they should be able to trust the student is learning and can run the truck. The trainer's going to make more anyway. I don't know what the pay is for trainers. As a matter of fact, I just got off the phone with the trainer at Prime, and we had a conversation, and he's still killing it. So I don't really know what the deal is, but I would speculate that if I was wanting to go back to train again, that money would not be the issue. The issue could come into play if I wanted to take some time off. I mean, think about 50,000 miles. I mean, traditionally, as much money as I was making training, I would probably be able to pay that person even if they were at home chilling. But maybe everybody's not in that situation, so that's a hard one. That is a key reason why I think 50,000 miles is a little bit too much. Not that I think that you can ever be, too highly trained, but when this starts becoming an issue, you start losing some drivers. So anyway, let's go. Another comment was, PSD training is good to help a student get their CDL, no doubt. But TNT phase is Prime taking advantage, which is disgusting. Now, I don't know if it's taking advantage or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that with the freight market the way it is now, I could almost see this if freight was like it was back when I was training. But I'm not seeing as many team loads getting ran. I mean, there are a lot of team loads getting ran, but I don't see that as being the main reason why. I think that, personally, I think that the training should be more around that 30,000 miles. But I think Prime is such a big company that when they make decisions to do something, it's like turning around a ship in the ocean. That shit takes forever. I'm not certain why there's 50,000 miles right now, but I think that's making a lot of people quit PSD training, and it's keeping people that want to be trainers from training. All right, here's a good one right here. Lyle, I got a question. What's your thoughts on the Prime drivers who drive for Prime, but their main concern is YouTube content, repping Prime for referrals, gas Prime up to dick ride Prime? Hold on a second. And then he goes on to say, me and a few other drivers keep it real though, but a good amount of others don't. What are my thoughts on that? Now, as far as the YouTube channels go, I'm all about, having a YouTube channel if you want to have a YouTube channel. I'm personally not one that's out there actively pushing referral codes or anything like that. If somebody wants to use my referral code, they'll either ask me for it or they'll find it, but I'm really not out there pushing it. As far as the as far as, and I think he said they're more worried about doing that than their job. Listen, if I'm a TNT trainer and I have somebody that wants to do YouTube and they're in training, they can do that stuff as long as it's kind of a format like mine where it's not taking too much involvement. But I'm not having anybody get out and set up cameras to back up and do all this stuff and then take 5 hours editing once they're done with everything. To me, driving the truck and getting stuff delivered on time is enough to where I just don't think that that's good for a student. As far as anybody else that's on YouTube pushing referrals and all this kind of stuff, you know what, I'm not gonna hate anybody's hustle. There's a whole lot of YouTube channels out there that are a whole lot better than mine. I can't really take advantage of it because I'm not just sitting in the bunk watching YouTube channels and videos and things like that. So a lot of the great YouTube channels, I can't really watch them because they're out there doing stuff that I can't do while I'm driving. They're out there, showing drive footage and dropping trailers and picking up trailers and doing all this other kind of stuff. So I think it's good that there's channels that are out there doing that. My only question would be is if that good content comes at the expense of doing the actual job. And for the most part, I'd have to say no. But I do know students that have been with Prime that were more focused on their content, as they called it, than the actual training. I do have a big problem with that. Let me see. And as far as keeping it real with Prime, some of these some of these newer YouTube channels are like, keeping it absolutely real. I mean, almost to the degree where I'm concerned about who might be watching that content. So I do keep it real, but I try to keep it within some boundaries as well. Let's see. Misfit Flatbed Her. Check out that channel. All you have to do is type in Flatbed Prime, maybe even female Flatbed Prime. But she's out there. She does some good content. And she basically said she does train for the money, but she does a good job. Now, there's nothing wrong with training for the money. Just because I say I don't train for the money, I mean, I would not do it for less money. And I don't think that she trains for the money because she hasn't trained in a long time. But she says when she does train, it is kind of about the money. But that's not her business model. I think there's a lot of people that are hurting right now that were training at Prime because that was their business model. They were expecting to make all this extra money, and now that money's not happening. So things are getting a little tight for them. Let's see. Somebody said, how are we supposed to take a dump and piss in a jar if we're training? I'm not sure about taking a shit in a bag or pissing in a bottle. I mean, well, actually pissing in the bottle, I can understand that. But it is little things like that that make the training experience something that is a lot harder than being solo. So I feel for that, especially women. Women, listen, if somebody was to say, Lyle, what is if you had to place a benefit on being a man or a woman in the training industry and put that in terms of dollars monthly, just being able to just whip it out whenever you want to, or, you know, not having the same level of caution and things that some women have to deal with, I would probably put that at about $300 a month minimum. Just being a man and just being able to do man things. All right, let's see. Somebody said most trainers train for the money. They don't teach anything above their job. Let's see. So basically he just said most people train for the money, and he's responding because I did a video, and I think he thought that my comment was replying to him. And I would say that I'm not sure what percentage of people train for the money. You know, that's not the biggest concern. What I have found is there are a lot of people that train that maybe shouldn't be training. And I think a lot of that is, you know, there's a number of different things. A couple things that come to my mind is maybe people that have not been in leadership positions before that feel like they need to lead by degrading people. I think I see a lot of that. And I see a lot of people, you know, I refuse to train. There's another YouTube channel, Big H Truckin', and he was just coming out of PSD, and he was asking me if I would be his trainer. And I had less than a year out solo, and I was like, man, I'd like to, because, you know, he's the type of guy I knew I could probably get along with really well. But I refused to take that step until I was very comfortable being on my own. And I think there's a lot of trainers out there that they hit that, you know, 6 or 8 months or whatever Prime says, then they want to go out and train, and that might be a little bit too early. And I can guarantee you there's a lot of trainers out there, if they got my first student, they would have been out there embarrassed when their student was out there outbacking them. So I think some people might jump into it a little earlier than they should. Let's keep going. I'm not sure if there's any more past that. Man, this is active out here. I live by a private airport out here, and DIA is kind of around, but we have a lot of private jets that are flying through here. Okay, somebody said that Prime ain't UNICEF. And then he goes on to say Prime's talking about the well, let me break this down because he goes on and on and on. So basically he's talking about the money that trainers make, and once you factor in the liability, the taxes, the $500 oil changes, $4,000 tires, on and on and on, that kind of cuts into that profit a bit. And I will definitely agree with that one, as far as it takes a hit that you don't notice. So it's sort of like a lot of newer drivers, not newer drivers, but newer lease drivers that come on YouTube and they're talking about, I make this much money, I make that much money. You know, they haven't got hit with some of them things yet. They haven't got hit with the $4,000 tires before their tire fund has $4,000, or they haven't got, maybe it's usually not going to be $4,000, but they haven't got hit with that, you know, tire expense. They haven't got hit with being down and all these different kind of things. And it's similar, I guess, in that a lot of trainers don't realize or a lot of people thinking about training don't understand some of the underlying things that aren't going to be quite as noticeable on a week-to-week basis. So as far as the money goes, like I said, last time I trained was probably about a year ago. And the money I was making more than offset all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I don't know how the numbers are going right now. And I think the main thing I want to take out of all this, and I know I'm getting a little bit long, is the 50,000 miles, okay? I think that is becoming an issue that I could look at it on two ends. On one end, I'd say, okay, well, $900 a month or $900 a week or whatever it is now. Shoot, it's more than that now. So let's say $1,100 a week. That should be enough to sustain somebody to go through training. But when people start taking time off and not paying people, that should be a conversation that's had between the trainer and the student. Like, there should be some kind of concern of how they're going to be able to pay their bills while the truck is down, or if they're going to continue to get paid. And that's the question. You know, the video I watched with the guy that just posted this video said he contacted his fleet manager. Well, I'm not sure if it needs to go above that or whatever, but I can 100% understand the situation that he's in. He said, I mean, it's now coming up on July, and he said he came out of PSD training when the Super Bowl, like the day of the Super Bowl or around that is a long time to be in training. I did it, but that's a different situation. I did it, you know, when we were doing $700 a month, and I decided to stay on my trainer's truck, and that got bumped to $900 a month. But I knew at any time I could just get off the truck whenever I wanted to. Now, I decided to stay on the truck just because I'd like to be overtrained, and because I didn't want to start a business at the very end of a year, which was possibly going to happen. So I decided to stay on. That's on me. When you start forcing people to stay on people's trucks that are, well, not forcing, I mean, because the 50,000 miles was put out there beforehand, but when people are on trucks for this long, and that's a long time to keep a cordial relationship. That's a long time to be out there with. It's just a long time. And then the biggest thing is the questioning, am I going to get paid? Now, this is something that needs to be addressed by Prime. It needs to be addressed not on a, you know, individual basis, because that's how they try to do it. Well, you know, we'll have to take it case by case. No, this is not a case by case situation. This is something where it needs to be black and white. If your trainer takes off and you send a message to dispatch saying, I'm available for dispatch, then between the dispatchers and everybody up the line, they need to figure out if that money or that is going to be paid by Prime, or if that's going to be paid by the driver or by the trainer, or if there's going to be another trainer to be coming out there to pick them up. I mean, this has to be in black and white. All this gray area that Prime's running in as far as this is concerned, it's just bad. There's no way I can sugarcoat that one. It's just bad. Because there's no reason, like, how would anybody that is not a driver, whatever job you have, that is being trained by somebody, has their pay based on if the trainer feels like working or not? I can absolutely guarantee you there's nobody that's at Prime that's not a driver that had to ever question when they were going to get paid, how they're going to get paid, things like that. So it either needs to be addressed up front. If you're a trainer and you plan on taking time off, then here's the way it's going to work. You're going to pay for the student. Or on the other hand, if you're a student and you want to take time off, because listen, 5 months is a long, I mean, this is a long time. 50,000 miles, excuse me, is a long time to go through training. You're potentially talking about somebody being away from their house longer than a deployment in the Marine Corps, or, I don't know about Army. Army does a little bit longer, but you're potentially talking about getting up there to that 6-month mark. That's a long time away from a long time to be away from home. And then, hey, if you want to take some home time and you request it, because there's a million reasons why you want to go home. Now you're not going to get, paid for that. That's where the 50,000 becomes a problem. 30,000, that's a cake. That's a cakewalk right there. Anyway, I'm coming up on 20 minutes. I've rambled on. I've read through I think all the comments I wanted to get to, and I apologize for being so long-winded, but one thing I do is appreciate you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.